Reaching the age of 70 and beyond is an incredible milestone, a time when you've gathered wisdom, experience, and stories that many only dream of. You've seen the world change, people grow, and you've adapted to life's many chapters. But as you enter this stage, something becomes clear. Not everything you used to think or do still makes sense. In your 70s, life takes on new meaning. It's a time for reflection, for simplicity, and for focusing on what truly matters. Yet many of us hold on to habits, mindsets, or routines that no longer serve a purpose. Whether it's stressing over things you can't control, worrying about what others think, or clinging to unnecessary expectations, these patterns can weigh you down, keeping you from enjoying the peace and joy you deserve. In this video, we're going to explore 7 things that simply don't make sense after 70. These insights will help you take a step back and ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Does this align with the life I want to live now? By letting go of what no longer makes sense, you can embrace this stage of life with freedom, clarity, and purpose. Each of these 7 points comes with practical suggestions and relatable stories to help you reflect and make small but impactful changes. By the end, you'll have a clearer idea of how to live this chapter on your terms, focusing only on what brings you happiness and meaning. If you're ready to simplify your life, find joy in the present moment, and let go of what doesn't make sense anymore, then stay with us. And if this message resonates, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content tailored just for you. Let's dive in. Life after 70 is a unique and beautiful chapter, a time to step back, reflect, and embrace the freedom to focus on what truly matters. It's a stage of life where the pressures of earlier years, building careers, raising families, and keeping up with societal expectations begin to fade, leaving room for new priorities. But here's something important to recognize. Some things that used to make sense no longer do. When you were younger, certain habits, beliefs, and routines might have felt necessary. Maybe you stressed about how others saw you, pushed yourself to meet unrealistic expectations, or worried constantly about things you couldn't control. At the time, these behaviors seemed justified because they served a purpose. You were in a stage of life where building and maintaining relationships, careers, and reputations took center stage. But now in your 70s and beyond, it's time to take stock. Some of those old habits might actually be holding you back from fully enjoying this stage of life. Think of your life as a garden. Over the years, you've planted seeds, your dreams, values, and relationships, and nurtured them with care. But just as weeds can grow among flowers, certain mindsets and behaviors can clutter your life. Letting go of what doesn't make sense is like pulling weeds. It clears the way for the things that truly matter to thrive. Improving our mental and emotional health and physical health are the signifiers of healthy growth. Take Joan's story. Joan spent most of her life striving to meet everyone's expectations. Her family's, her friends, even those of strangers. She always worried about how others saw her, whether her choices were judged, and what people might say. At 72, Joan realized how much time and emotional energy this mindset was taking from her. One afternoon, her granddaughter innocently said, "Grandma, why do you worry so much about what other people think?" That question was a wake-up call. Joan decided to let go of the need to please others, and she described it as the most freeing change she'd ever made. Joan's experience is a reminder for all of us. When you stop holding on to things that don't serve you, you make room for peace, happiness, and clarity. It's easy to hold on to routines or mindsets simply because they're familiar. For example, worrying excessively about things you can't control, clinging to possessions or relationships that no longer bring joy, dwelling on regrets from the past, feeling obligated to say yes when you'd rather say no. Over time, these patterns become habits, and we don't always stop to question them. But now, in your 70s and 80s, you have an opportunity to reassess. Ask yourself, does this still add value to my life? Is this habit helping me feel fulfilled and happy? What would happen if I simply let it go? These questions are powerful because they give you permission to focus only on what matters most. You've worked hard to reach this stage of life. You deserve to live it fully, without unnecessary burdens holding you back. When you let go of things that don't make sense anymore, you're not losing anything. You're gaining freedom. Freedom to live on your own terms. Freedom to focus on relationships, hobbies, and activities that bring you joy. Freedom to spend your time and energy in ways that make your days feel meaningful. Consider Paul, a 74-year-old retiree who spent years holding on to grudges. He carried anger over disagreements with friends and family members, and it weighed on him emotionally. One day, Paul decided he'd had enough. Why am I holding on to this when it's doing me no good? He asked himself. He started letting go of his grudges, reaching out to people to make peace, or simply forgiving them silently in his heart. Paul described the experience as liberating. He said, "I didn't realize how heavy those grudges were until I put them down." Paul's story highlights an important truth. Letting go of what doesn't make sense, whether it's resentment, unnecessary worry, or unhelpful habits, creates room for lightness, peace, and connection. In the next segments, we'll dive into the 7 specific things that no longer make sense after 70. These are things that many of us hold on to without realizing how much they weigh us down. We'll discuss why they no longer serve a purpose, and I'll share practical tips and relatable stories to help you let them go. As you follow along, take a moment to reflect. Are there habits, thoughts, or worries in your own life that no longer make sense? Maybe it's something you've been holding on to for years without even realizing it. By identifying and letting go of these things, you can create space for a happier, lighter, and more fulfilling life. If you're ready to embrace this chapter of life with clarity and purpose, then stay with us. These next segments are for you. And if you're already starting to reflect on your own habits and priorities, share your thoughts in the comments. What's something you think no longer makes sense? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights on living well in your later years. Together, let's let go of what holds us back and embrace the freedom and joy that this stage of life has to offer. Stay with us as we explore the 7 things that don't make sense after 70. It was many difficult years, and our marriage was much more difficult of a relationship, but ultimately, it was unimpeded. As we enter our 70s and beyond, it's a time to simplify life, embrace freedom, and focus on what truly matters. Yet many of us still hold on to habits or mindsets that no longer serve us, things we've carried with us for decades, often without questioning their purpose. In this segment, we'll explore the first 3 things that simply don't make sense after 70. These insights will help you reflect, let go of unnecessary burdens, and create a happier, more fulfilling life. Let's dive in. Number 1, worrying about what other people think. For much of our lives, we worry about how we're perceived, whether we're making the right decisions, looking the right way, or saying the right things. It's a habit that starts early and can linger for decades. But here's the truth. Worrying about what others think doesn't make sense anymore. Take Margaret's story. Margaret, now 72, spent years constantly second-guessing her choices because she worried about what her neighbors, friends, or even strangers might say. She wouldn't wear bright clothes because she thought people would laugh. She avoided joining her community's singing group, even though she was afraid of being judged. One day during a family gathering, her granddaughter said something that hit her deeply. "Grandma, you always tell me to be myself. Why don't you take your own advice?" That comment stayed with Margaret. She realized how much joy she'd been missing out on simply because of other people's opinions, most of whom weren't even paying attention. Margaret made a change. She started dressing the way she wanted, joined the singing group, and discovered a freedom she hadn't felt in years. She laughed more, made new friends, and finally understood that other people's opinions were not her responsibility. Here's something to think about. People are far too busy worrying about their own lives to focus on yours. And even if they do have an opinion, does it really matter? In your 70s, you've earned the right to live on your own terms. Wear what you love, say what you feel, do what makes you happy. Letting go of the need for approval is one of the most liberating things you can do. Number 2, holding on to grudges. Life is too short and too precious to carry the weight of anger and resentment. Holding on to grudges may feel justified at times, but it comes at a cost. It steals your peace, weighs you down emotionally, and prevents you from fully enjoying the present. At this stage of life, letting go of grudges simply makes more sense. Consider Tom's story. Tom, now 75, had a falling out with his childhood friend Peter over a financial disagreement 20 years ago. They hadn't spoken since, and the memory of the argument still lingered. He was wrong, Tom would say whenever the topic came up, convinced that Peter should make the first move. But deep down, the grudge weighed heavily on him. One day, Tom's wife said something that changed his perspective. "If something happened to Peter tomorrow, would you regret not reaching out?" That question struck a chord. Tom decided to let go of the anger and picked up the phone. The conversation was awkward at first, but as they talked, both men realized how much they'd missed each other's friendship. The grudge had cost them 2 decades of laughter, support, and shared memories. Tom later said, "I wasted 20 years being angry, and for what? It feels like I took a weight off my shoulders." Letting go of a grudge doesn't mean excusing someone's behavior. It means choosing peace over resentment. Even if reconciliation isn't possible, forgiving someone in your heart allows you to release that emotional burden and move forward. If you're holding on to anger towards someone, ask yourself, is this worth the energy it takes to keep carrying it? Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a chance to free your heart and mind so you can focus on what truly matters. Number 3, keeping clutter you don't need. Physical clutter can have a surprisingly powerful effect on your mental and emotional well-being. Holding on to items you no longer use, need, or love can create stress, make your home feel overwhelming, and take up valuable space, both physically and emotionally. After 70, it's time to let go of the clutter and embrace simplicity. Take Helen's story. At 79, Helen's house was filled with items she'd collected over decades. Closets were packed with clothes she hadn't worn in years. Kitchen cabinets overflowed with unused gadgets. and the garage was piled high with boxes of forgotten items. Helen often said, "What if I need this someday?" But deep down, she knew most of it was just taking up space. One weekend, her daughter and grandson offered to help her declutter. They started with one room, sorting items into 3 categories: keep, donate, and toss. At first, Helen found it difficult to let go, especially when sentimental items were involved. But as they worked, she began to feel a sense of relief. "Why am I holding on to all these things?" she wondered. By the end of the process, Helen's home felt lighter, calmer, and more organized. She kept only the items that truly brought her joy and had a purpose. Decluttering is not just about clearing physical space. It's about creating mental clarity and freedom. Here's how you can start. Focus on one small area at a time, like a drawer or a shelf. Ask yourself, does this add value to my life? Do I use it, need it, or love it? Let go of the guilt. If something was a gift or cost money, remember that its purpose was fulfilled when it brought you joy. Simplifying your surroundings makes it easier to enjoy your space and focus on the things that truly matter, like family, friends, and your well-being. These first 3 changes, stopping the need to worry about others' opinions, releasing grudges, and letting go of clutter, are about creating freedom in your life. Freedom to live without unnecessary stress, freedom to enjoy your home, your relationships, and your time. When you let go of what no longer makes sense, you create space for what truly does: joy, peace, and connection. These changes are not about losing anything. They're about gaining a better quality of life. Which of these 3 things resonates most with you? Are you ready to stop worrying about what others think, let go of a grudge, or clear out unnecessary clutter? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how you're making changes to simplify your life. 11. If this video was inspiring you, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel for more advice on living well in your later years. In the next segment, we'll explore the remaining 4 things that don't make sense after 70, each one offering another step to creating the freedom and joy you deserve. Let's keep going together. As we continue this journey of reflection and self-discovery, it's time to address the remaining 4 things that simply don't make sense after 70. Letting go of these outdated habits or mindsets can create more space for happiness, peace, and purpose in your daily life. Remember, every step towards simplifying your life brings you closer to the freedom you deserve. Let's dive into these final 4 points and uncover how you can make the most of this incredible stage of life. Number 4. Stressing over things you can't control. If there's one lesson life teaches us, it's that not everything is within our control. Yet, many of us still find ourselves worrying about things we can't change, whether it's the behavior of others, the state of the world, or events from the past. After 70, it becomes clear that stress over things outside your influence simply doesn't make sense. Take Harold's story. He decided to limit his time watching the news and instead focused on things within his control: his health, his hobbies, and spending time with his family. Here's the truth: worrying changes nothing except your peace of mind. If you can't control a situation, let it go. Focus your energy on what you can influence, like staying healthy, connecting with loved ones, or learning something new. Your time and mental energy are precious. Don't waste them on things that are out of your hands. Number 5. Living for other people's expectations. For much of our lives, We make decisions based on what others expect of us, family, friends, or even society. But as you enter your 70s and beyond, it's time to let go of those expectations and live life on your own terms. Consider Dorothy's experience. At 78, Dorothy realized she'd spent decades putting others' needs before her own. She'd chosen a career she didn't love, attended events she didn't enjoy, and kept silent about her own dreams because she didn't want to rock the boat. But as she reflected on her life, she wondered, what about me? One day, Dorothy made a bold choice. She began pursuing the things that brought her joy, like painting and traveling. At first, her family was surprised, but they quickly saw how much happier she was and supported her fully. The takeaway here is simple. You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that isn't authentic. If there's something you've always wanted to do, take up a hobby, travel, or even make a major change, this is your time. You've earned the right to live life exactly how you want. Let go of others' expectations and honor your own dreams. Number 6, putting off your happiness. It's easy to fall into the trap of someday thinking. I'll take that trip someday. I'll learn that skill someday. I'll relax when everything is perfect. But as we all know, someday isn't guaranteed, and putting off your happiness doesn't make sense anymore. Take Robert's story. Robert, now 80, always dreamed of visiting Italy. He talked about it for decades, but always found a reason to delay: work commitments, family responsibilities, or financial worries. Finally, after retiring, Robert's wife convinced him to take the trip. Standing in the middle of Rome, surrounded by ancient history and laughter, Robert realized how much joy he had postponed. Work, life. He later shared, "I wish I hadn't waited so long. The memories we made were priceless." Putting off your happiness only robs you of the moments you could be enjoying right now. Don't wait for someday. Start today. Whether it's reconnecting with a passion, learning something new, or spending time with loved ones, prioritize the things that bring you joy. Life isn't about perfection. It's about embracing the small, meaningful moments that make you feel alive. Living your dreams. Such a dream is impossible. Stay put until next week. Keep fighting fear and keep the light on. Ask yourself, what's something you've been putting off? Take one small step toward it today. Whether it's booking that trip, joining a class, or calling an old friend, your happiness deserves a place in the present, not the distant future. Number 7, feeling guilty. Many of us grew up with the idea that putting others first is always the right thing to do. And while caring for others is important, constantly neglecting your own needs doesn't make sense, especially at this stage of life. Prioritizing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary for your health, happiness, and well-being. Let's look at Linda's story. Linda, at 73, had spent most of her life caring for her family and friends. While she loved them deeply, she often felt drained and unappreciated. One day, a friend told her, "Linda, you can't pour from an empty cup. You deserve to take care of yourself too." That advice stuck with her. Linda began carving out time for herself, whether it was reading in peace, taking long walks, or saying no to obligations that didn't serve her. To her surprise, prioritizing herself didn't hurt her relationships. It strengthened them. Linda was happier, healthier, and more present for the people she loved. Here's the truth. Taking care of yourself allows you to show up as your best self for others. Whether it's physical self-care like exercising or eating well, or emotional self-care like enjoying hobbies or setting boundaries, your needs matter. Let go of the guilt and embrace the freedom to put yourself first. If you've spent years putting everyone else ahead of yourself, it's time to ask, what do I need to feel happy, healthy, and fulfilled? Make yourself a priority because you're worth it. These final 4 changes, letting go of stress over things you can't control, living for yourself instead of others' expectations, prioritizing your happiness now, and putting yourself first, are about reclaiming your life. You've worked hard to get to this stage, and you deserve to enjoy it to the fullest. Think about it this way. Life after 70 is not about perfection. It's about living with intention, joy, and authenticity. By letting go of these habits and mindsets, you create more space for the things that truly matter: peace, connection, and happiness. Which of these final 4 things resonates with you the most? Are you ready to let go of stress? Start living for yourself, or stop putting off your happiness? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. If this video has inspired you, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel for more tips on living well and thriving in your later years. In the next segment, we'll discuss how to embrace change, overcome resistance, and start implementing these changes step by step. You're already on the path to creating a lighter, more fulfilling life. Let's keep moving forward together. Letting go of old habits, mindsets, or routines is not always easy. Change, even when it's positive, can feel uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Growth begins where comfort ends. Embracing change, especially at this stage of life, is about giving yourself permission to create more peace, joy, and fulfillment. Let's explore how to overcome resistance and take the first steps toward a lighter, better life. Change often brings a mix of emotions: fear of the unknown, reluctance to let go of what's familiar, or doubts about whether you can actually do it. It's perfectly normal to feel this way. After all, you've spent decades building habits, routines, and beliefs that feel second nature. But here's something important to remember. Change doesn't have to happen all at once. Small steps lead to big transformations. Take Thomas's story. At 74, Thomas realized he was holding onto grudges from long ago. He'd spent years telling himself it's too late to change. But one day, he decided to write a simple letter to an old friend just to clear the air. That one step lifted a burden he didn't even know he was still carrying. "I felt like I could breathe again," he said. Thomas discovered that change doesn't require perfection. It just requires taking the first step. The key to embracing change is to start small. Choose one thing, just one, that no longer makes sense in your life. Maybe it's letting go of clutter, forgiving an old grudge, or focusing on your happiness instead of others' expectations. Ask yourself, what's one habit, thought, or worry I'm ready to let go of? What small action can I take today to start moving forward? For example, if you've been stressing over things you can't control, start by limiting the time you spend watching the news. If you've been putting off happiness, take one step towards something you've always wanted, like signing up for a class, reaching out to an old friend, or planning a trip. Remember, progress is more important than perfection. Change takes time, and it's important to practice self-compassion along the way. If you stumble or feel resistance, That's okay. The fact that you're trying means you're moving in the right direction. Celebrate your efforts, no matter how small. Each step you take is an act of courage and self-care. Take Linda's experience. At 76, she wanted to prioritize herself after years of putting everyone else first. It wasn't easy. She felt guilty at first, but she reminded herself, I deserve to feel happy too. Slowly, she began carving out time for her hobbies, walks, and moments of peace. That shift made her feel lighter and more alive. Now it's your turn. What's one small change you can make today? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how you're moving forward. Remember, it's never too late to let go of what no longer serves you and embrace the life you truly deserve. If this video has inspired you, please like it and subscribe to our channel for more tips and advice on living well and thriving in your later years. Together, let's take those first steps toward a happier, lighter, and more meaningful life. You've got this. Reaching this stage of life is an opportunity to live with clarity, freedom, and purpose. By letting go of things that no longer make sense, like worrying about what others think, holding on to grudges, or putting off your happiness, you create space for peace, joy, and meaningful moments. Life after 70 isn't about what you rarely matters. It's about celebrating all you've gained and focusing on what truly matters. Remember, change doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start small. Choose one habit, mindset, or behavior to let go of and take that first step. Progress happens little by little, and every step you take is a victory worth celebrating. Whether it's decluttering your home, forgiving an old grudge, or prioritizing your happiness, you have the power to shape this chapter of your life into something truly beautiful. Thank you for being part of this journey today. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to like it, share it with someone who might need to hear this message, and subscribe to our channel for more advice on living your best life in later years. You've earned this stage of life. Embrace it fully, live with intention, and make each day count. You deserve it.